So let's start. I always like to start at the very beginning and work our way back to the present moment. When you first decided to start your spiritual journey, walking down this path, what was it that ignited it? Was there a moment? Was there a person?
Yeah, so actually Janelle kind of planted these seeds in me back in 2019. I visited Oblong for the first time with a class hosted by Janelle. It was cannabis infused yoga. And I am kind of a stoner. And so I went to the class, like, not really caring about yoga or spirituality, just wanted to hang out, smoke weed inside. And then I was talking with Janelle after, and I don't remember what we were talking about, but I just remember something shifting in my mind where I just started to care more about health. And so that's how this journey began for me, where it was just being more mindful of the things that I consume in terms of foods, even the type of weed that I was smoking and stuff like that. So that was the very beginning.
Wow, yeah, I remember that photo pops up all the time in our memory feed.
Yeah.
And everyone looks so different. And I'm always like, right, Nay was at that class. And it was I think their first one that they posted too. And it was just, everyone was in such a different era of our journey for sure.
I know. Yeah, we all look so different in that photo. But yeah, that was the first day. And then so I kept coming back. Every couple months, Janelle would host sound baths. So I would come. And then so Janelle is actually my best friend's cousin. And that's again, how I ended up here, because my best friend was like, hey, let's go support my cousin at this thing that she's doing. And I'm like, okay, sure. So we would just be talking. So we would go together, my best friend and I. We would be talking to Janelle after, and just every single time I left one of her offerings, I just got closer and closer to caring about my health. And then eventually I lost my job during COVID, and everything that Janelle kind of said to me, I was able to really take time to integrate. And Janelle didn't try to put me on this path. She was literally just having a conversation with me like a normal person. But when I lost my job, I started actually implementing all of the things with health. I started doing a little bit of yoga. I would do 10 minutes of very basic yoga every day because I had nothing else to do. I was unemployed. And then, yeah, so that was the start. And that was 2019 to 2020.
That time, I think, gave everyone a lot of time to really put other things into perspective and prioritize. And health and wellness, it was took one of the biggest hits, but also there's so much time and space to really learn about health and have time to do yoga and have time to get your 10K steps. And the novelty of time that era gave us is really a weird blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
I remember when you first showed up to Peru, I didn't really know you at all at that point, and you had lost your luggage and you were so chill and you were just wearing these track pants for 3 days. I'm like, wow, this is the chillest girl ever. And then as time was going on, you're like, this really isn't like me. And I'm like, really? You just surrendered so quickly. And I think that's one of the first things that really caught my eye about you is your ability to adapt. You are such a chameleon. Yeah. So when you came to Peru, what was your intention with that retreat? Why did you decide to go?
Yeah, so my intention is actually the reason I was able to surrender so quickly to what had happened. So I got to Peru, and it was the first time that I had ever been in South America, and the first time I'd ever taken a connecting flight, because where we were in Peru, it was Cusco, and you can't really take a direct flight there. So in one of the connections, my luggage got lost, and immediately I was like, amazing, like genuinely great, because I came to Peru with the intention of um, detaching from materialism. So I was at this stage in my life, and so Peru was February 2021, and at that specific stage in my life, I was the most materialistic I had ever been. I really, really valued like expensive things, going to expensive places, just, I guess, kind of trying to like put out this image of whatever. And so I came to Peru to ground myself because I knew that I had gone so far in this direction, and I acquired so many material things. And at the end of it, I was even more unhappy than I was in the pursuit of these things. So I got to this point where it was like, okay, I don't like anything that I have. I don't like what I'm doing. Um, like I need a shift. So I signed up for Peru with that intention. And when I lost my luggage, it literally was like the universe taking these things away from me and saying, okay, now go live without it. Like, this is what you wanted. This is why you came here. Wear the same pants for 4 days. And I was like, all right, I definitely will. So that was the start of that detachment for me. And even like when we took the medicine in Peru, um, like one of the messages that I received was that like I'm no longer attached to these things and I can just let them go. And I just kind of started doing that. And it was a process. It took me about 8 months to integrate that lesson and to fully detach from these materialistic items. But yeah, that losing my luggage was the start.
Well, you are one of the most like beautifully intense people I know besides myself. And then like the second time you came with us to Bali and you were doing the 75 hard challenge, and I was like, wow, like in a matter of how long would that have been? February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, like not even a year.
It's about 8 months.
And you were, yeah, you had like you were going the entire other way, like a pendulum almost is what it felt like witnessing, is everything was being cut off and you're just swinging like effortlessly though, like really in a beautiful way you embody discomfort. Yeah. I would like to ask you, like, have you always
totally.
been this adaptable to discomfort? Like, is there something maybe with your life? Like, what gave you this skill?
Yeah, so the way that I've always navigated my life is just this fuck it attitude, like I'm gonna do whatever I want to do in the most, like, not in like a rude way, but in a I can literally do anything type of way. So I've changed my life so drastically so many times that it's now normal to me to be so uncomfortable, to be so new at something, to be a beginner, to start over, to tear down my life and just build a new one. Like I've done that so many times in my life. And so like tearing down this girl who is like into nightlife and materialism and building somebody who was fulfilled and making a positive impact, like it really was very natural for me. And it honestly didn't really feel that uncomfortable. Because it felt more aligned, it just flowed more effortlessly, I guess. And once I think the biggest thing that helped me switch so drastically too was finding that new community. So like when I make these drastic shifts in my life, I tend to shift communities as well and just fully immerse myself into the community and doing what I want to do. And because it's normal for them, then it feels normal for me as well. And so, yeah, like joining Soul School, becoming friends with you guys, it was just like, okay, this is my life now. Like, this is what I'm into. This is my social circle. But I've always been this way. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know. I mean, I guess my parents kind of raised me in a way to be like to trust myself and to have confidence in my path. Like my parents never really like forced me down any path. They kind of just let me do whatever I wanted to do. And when I was bored of it, they let me do something else. And so I would just do that forever.
My parents were the same way. And I think there's like a really, you get great things from like more hands-on and more hands-off parenting. But a thing I see amongst a lot of like entrepreneurs, especially, is they were having to be like really self-dependent and like really trust their own decision-making processes and not asking someone else permission or, you know, whatever. And that is such a hard thing to learn as we get older, but it's such a simple thing to implement when we're younger, to just let children make autonomous decisions about their life. And it's not scary if you fail. It's like the art of learning something new can make you an expert in anything, right? It's not, oh, I'm more artistic or, oh, I'm more analytical or musical. It's like, I'm just good at learning things. And if I can submit myself to that process, like, you got it. You got it, girl.
Yeah, I guess another trait that I have is that I'm not like, I'm not afraid of being a beginner. And I think that's what allows me to make these huge shifts, is because I come from a place of I want to learn from others. I don't know a fucking thing. And so when you come from this place of being a student and being humble in that, and like knowing that you need to ask for help and like find a mentor or whatever, then you can really just learn. Because if you come from a place of like, oh, you know, I don't want to be a beginner, I'm already so comfortable where I am, I don't want to learn new things, then like you're just going to stay there forever. And like that's fine. A lot of people like that. But I really just am like, okay, just teach me like what you know. And even still, like I visit a ton of yoga classes as a student just to like learn. And I just constantly want to collaborate with people who are much more progressed in this industry than I am, and kind of just admire what they're doing and gather inspiration. So yeah, I think that's another important trait to have too, like just as a person, is just to be okay with not knowing anything and being a beginner and allowing yourself to take criticism, take advice, receive feedback, and not in a way that you're like upset about it, you're not getting defensive. It's like you appreciate all of the feedback that you receive. So yeah, I think I told you that once in Bali too. I was like, I love getting criticism because it genuinely helps me. And whether I agree with it or not, it's nice to know people's opinion, and I can do with that whatever I want. I can choose to ignore it, but at least I've heard it.
Yeah, I feel you. Sorry, there's a little bit of a lag, so I have to wait until both cameras are done talking before I can respond. Well, how do you feel, because we are yogis and on the topic of yoga and, you know, resurrecting it from being just a purely asana lifestyle, now that you're living at Oblong, you've really stepped into like a true wholeheartedly, every component of your life is yoga. How has the philosophy of yoga really helped like affirm, it sounds like, what you already kind of understand in this philosophical way of like detachment and surrendering? What teachings did you find really resonated with you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess all of them in a way, but it's hard to like pinpoint them specifically. But it is just like slowly beginning to integrate like yoga into my life, like the yamas, niyamas, and just like showing up more authentically, more truthfully, like online, but also like more importantly in my relationships, like in my friendships. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't, it's kind of weird because I don't really consider myself super yogic or spiritual, but I guess in a way I'm just embodying it without really attaching myself to those labels. So I don't really know how to explain it, but um, yoga is a lifestyle and it's a way of living. And because I'm around so many people in this community, I've just changed the way that I navigate. I guess relationships is the biggest one for me. Yeah, just like genuinely caring about people, but then also like not getting super attached to them and understanding that things are constantly fluctuating, and you know, who's in my life today might not be here tomorrow, and like making peace with that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's so much that yoga is. It's hard to kind of just like condense it down into like ways that it's changed me, but all I say is that it has just fundamentally changed me. I don't even know like what that means, but just everything about my life is different now. So yeah, I don't know.
Well, you're saying something interesting about community, and I think like building community and the psychology of it is so fascinating. And living at Oblong, like you witness what it's like to really like live intimately in a community, but then also like be exposed to such a diverse group of people where you do get attached to some students and like you do really love them and then they're gone and then there's other people that are there for months and you're like having to keep this sort of revolving door of detachment so that you can just keep operating. And that is like, yeah, it's like you're kind of saying it's like fundamentally happening, whether or not you are witnessing or like aware of it. Like you kind of have to live a yogic lifestyle when like even operate as a yogi when thinking of community, because there's a lot of compromise and there's a lot of, you know, you have to be open to receiving other perspectives and not taking it as an ultimate truth or something that's to like attack you. And to be faced with those sort of practices all the time, 24/7, like most people aren't hanging out with other people 100% of the time. They go to an event or they go to see their parents or they go to see their friends. But when you're in that, you're like practicing. You're constantly in practice of like how to stay sane and happy and harmonious within a house. But I mean, I've seen how you've been operating oblong and it's really like kept that energy feeling like such an open door and breezy and light. And yeah, I'm so grateful for you. Such like big daddy energy. So let's talk a little bit about your YTT. What was one of the best, worst moments and something that you took away from that time we spent together?
Okay, worst moments were
No, okay, let me rephrase this question because I haven't before. The best worst moment. So it was a worst moment, but it was actually like the best part, the best worst moment.
Okay, so I don't know. I had this moment kind of like in the middle end, maybe, where I had this like huge emotional release. After one of the yoga classes, I kind of just started like crying like really hard. I like had to leave the room and everything. That was the best worst moment, I guess, because I was kind of still holding on to, I guess, some energy from the past. And I kind of just had to let it go. And it was really nice that it happened after Shavasana. Um, oh, another one actually is we woke up at like what 3 a.m. to hike this volcano. And so up until this everyone at the YTT thought that I was like, I guess like super athletic just because of like my like yogic ability, like in terms of asana. And so it was kind of like a joke amongst the YTT like group that, you know, I'm going into these insane poses and this is the final pose and everything like that. And so when we hiked the mountain, people got to see me trying to do cardio and I like physically couldn't. And that was very humbling for me. And it was really nice to for like everyone to also see that like, okay, sure, I'm flexible, but like try to get me up this fucking volcano. I can't. So that was awesome. But another thing that happened during that hike is that I had this moment where it was still dark outside and all you could see was people. So everyone was holding a lantern or like a flashlight or something, all of us, like everyone hiking up the mountain. And there must have been like hundreds, if not thousands of people hiking up this volcano at the same time. And so it was dark out, and the only thing that you could see is everyone's little flashlights going up the mountain. And you can see them from where we are all the way to the top. And I was pissed because I'm sweating. I can't breathe. Like, this is my first hike ever. I was like upset, kind of. And I was like, I just want to be where those guys are. I'm looking up at the top and I can see their flashlights so far away. And I'm like, I just want to be where they are. I want to be them right now. And I'm looking into the, like, kind of like looking into the future, looking at where they are, wishing I was there. And when I took my attention off of where I was in the present moment and was looking there, I physically fell over. Like I tripped over rocks and fell on my face. And it was a really nice representation of how I go about navigating life sometimes, because I'm where I am right now. And I'm looking in the distance, in the future. I'm looking at people who are so much further ahead than me. And I'm thinking, I want to be you. I want to be where you are. I want to have what you have. And when you have that thought, you trip and you fall and you fuck up and you fail because you just aren't, first of all, present. You're not grateful for what you have, for where you are. And you're not focused on your journey, on your path. You're literally going to fall over. So that was a really, really nice reminder. And it was like, yeah, just so, it was such a mirror for life. So that was probably like one of the best, worst moments, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, that volcano was, I think, a lot of people's best, worst moments. The energy that day was like, we were pissed, but we were going. We were all like, fuck this, but okay. It's 3
Yeah,
a.m.
exactly.
It's just like a different realm of time. 3 a.m. it's still the other day. Like you're still in the day prior.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah, it was very difficult, but I'm really happy that we did it. And I think there was more lessons that I learned from it. I would have to go back in my journal and remember, but that was the biggest thing that I took away from that experience, was like just be where you are now, because this is a journey, and don't look at anybody else. Don't look at where they are. Don't wish that you were them. Just be proud of who you are. Be grateful for what you have. And yeah, so that was a really nice lesson.
You talked a little bit about the community and how it's so different tuning into this like spiritual community. How does Soul School's community differ for you?
Like different from like communities that I've been in the past.
Yeah, how do you find connecting to this group of women, this group of people through Oblong, through Soul School? What makes it feel different for you?
So I guess the biggest difference that I noticed was just that everyone in this community values just wellness in general. And that's such a broad statement, but the people in this community value showing up as themselves. They value taking care of their health, like physically, mentally, spiritually. they value who they surround themselves with, and like personal development. They also value rest and allowing themselves to recharge, take a step back when they need it. And yeah, just valuing wellness as a whole, even like the community events that I attend or I host, like the fact that people are coming to these events and this is their Friday night and this is their social event. Like that's really special because, you know, we're not going out getting, you know, drunk or whatever and falling all over the place. Like, and like that can be fun, but it's also nice to have like an alternative to a fun Friday night. And so like the communities I had been in the past kind of just valued more, I guess, short-term fun or just things that could be detrimental to one's health, one's mental state. And just even like a lack of care or concern for other people. And so being in a community that values each other and values yourself so much, it's really life changing. Once that is your norm in your social circle, you're so much more likely to take up that path yourself. And yeah, like I said, that was like something that really helped me find this path of wellness and genuinely caring about my life, was being surrounded by people who also cared and people who thought about tomorrow and wanted to make the world a better place for themselves, for others. That's the biggest difference. Other than that, like we're all normal people. Like we're all silly. We all make, you know, silly jokes. We all still make bad decisions sometimes. But at the root of it, we care and we love. And that's it.
For sure. So tell us a little bit about, now that you've done your training and you feel, you know, what are your offerings? What are you up to in Toronto now? Where are you now?
Yeah, so currently I'm at Oblong Yoga House. I manage the studio and I host events here with other women, either like in the community of Oblong or just in the wellness community as a whole. So wellness events like connection, sound healing, breath work, just a bunch of different things happening. And then I also teach weekly classes here at Oblong. Usually like yin, hatha. I do like a weekly inversions class. But other than that, like most of my time now, I just see private clients. So I have a great network of students who are interested in using their physical yoga practice to kind of push past mental blockages and start to tear down limitations, like limiting beliefs. So a lot of my students are focused on inversions, which are like really difficult poses in yoga. So it'll be like your headstand, handstand, stuff like that. And I'm teaching them like physically to get into these postures. But our bigger picture is that if you can overcome this huge challenge, you can bring these skills with you into your everyday life. So I'm working with them to teach them consistency, discipline, resiliency. And these are really important lessons that we need in our relationships, in our career. And so, like, yeah, that's, I think one of my biggest passions as a yoga teacher specifically is inversions, just because of how difficult they are and how much of your mind state changes while working through these postures. So that's like most of what I do now is just see clients one-on-one, and we just talk about these things and we do the crazy stuff. And you know, sometimes it's not always yoga. Sometimes we are just stretching. Sometimes we are moving and standing on our hands. But whatever brings you to the mat, like something for me is kind of just making yoga a bit more accessible in the sense that like I've found sometimes people shy away from yoga because it is so much. It is such a lifestyle. In some ways, it's like it's not a religion, but it's like it gets spiritual. So something that I do is like I just gauge where my clients are at and like I won't push them into something that's a bit too much. Like sometimes I won't call it yoga and sometimes we don't practice yoga just because they don't want to. They're interested in doing movement and stuff like that. And so I kind of just make it more accessible to people who like don't want to use the label of yoga, which is a thing. Like I know, I mean, it's a sacred practice and there's a lot of wonderful teachers who are preserving that. And so just out of respect for the sacred practice, I don't always call what I'm doing yoga. And yeah, that's something that I'm kind of focusing on because I am really so into movement and sometimes it is just movement.
Yeah, well, I think the only thing that makes it yoga is we're just breathing with more awareness, trying to like use that awareness as like prana and chi and Tao, qigong and all these other practices of like moving the energy. It's just so interesting. There's so many ways to say the same thing. And yeah, I love what you said. It's all about like whatever brings you to the mat for sure. And it's happening whether or not people know. Like postures emit such amazing channeling frequencies of like, why do you feel so good after a back bend? Or why do you feel so calm after going upside down or folding forward? And it's like, because on a metaphysical level, like the channels just are opening. Like it's part of physics. And it's so beautiful that people are just doing yoga. And thank you for being one of those amazing teachers and the preachers of just health and wellness, especially in Toronto. I know it's like a yin yang lifestyle here of people come and do their like 1 hour of yoga check and then they just like are right back into a grind. But something is better than nothing. And even one person that's listening is still 2 ears. So. I know you have some places to be, so I won't keep you much longer. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us, with our community?
Just keep moving. Whatever that means to you, like whether it's yoga or not, we all have a unique talent, a unique gift, something that calls out to us and gives us a reason to wake up. And whatever that is for you, just keep doing it. Allow yourself some time to be a little bit selfish and take a moment to do something just for you today. Because it truly is a domino effect, and we just need to keep connecting to whatever it is that allows us to feel fulfilled. So take your hobby and try to make some time for it today. Just keep moving.
I love that. Thank you so much. Oh, wise, sacred Nay, we bow down to the divine in you, and I will see you in the kitchen.
Okay. Thank you, Sierra. Thank you for being such a wonderful mentor to me and just everything. I mean, when I talk about you to people, my first starting line is, her name is Sierra and she's my everything. And you truly are just everything to me at this point in my life. Like, you are so beautiful, so wonderful. You're so wise. And I just love everything that you're doing and everything that you say. It's so meaningful to me and to the community. So thank you for taking all of the leaps of faith that you've took and truly paved the way for so many of us to make our impact. You're just like the starting point of all of this amazing stuff. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Mic drop.